Yo, it's ODB from OLP. This is issue 147 of Mini Truckin Magazine. Looking forward to going through it. If you want to purchase stickers, you can hit up the link in the bio. So, full disclosure, I actually did flip through 148 before this, and then I realized, hey, I forgot 147. We will see this S10 with the Trailblazer headlights and grille featured in the next issue. Of course, this does say SEMA Show Special Issue. Thousands gather for the largest custom automotive show anywhere. You'll notice here, I mentioned this recently, there's no kind of banner up here, so it's all pretty much a white background. That stands out a little bit to me because it's slightly different, but we see that a little bit more in this era. Basically, what you have is Richard Galindo Jr.'s 95 S-10. Of course, orange, that's the way I always remember it. Orange was kind of that green tribal graphic. It's the 10th cover truck with Boyd wheels. And it's Wes Allison's 49th credited Mini Truckin Magazine cover. The beautiful, of course, Jennifer Scott is on the cover. So, very awesome cover. You know, again, they're switching it up. Not every truck is bodied. And not every truck is, you know, crazy. But this truck is certainly super clean. I think you guys will appreciate the feature on this one. If you like what we're doing here, leave a comment. Even if it's just an emoji, thumbs up. It definitely helps the page. We do continue to grow. If you can watch these all the way through, it helps us out as well. Now, in the next issue, I'm going to note that there's only like about 3 features, but this one's stacked. You see about 6 features there. We see a Subculture Yoda. You got this Blazer. Of course, this was a SEMA coverage there. You got the cover truck, the Toyota negative camber truck there. Now, I'm trying to be as efficient as I can with these without getting too crazy. Easier said than done for me. What does SEMA mean to mini truckers? And in this issue, it's ironic because every year, you know, SEMA happens that first week in November, but it seems like there's less and less mini trucks there. You know, trends change, you know, trends come and go. There were a few last year. There's going to be a few this year, but certainly not as many as there used to be, at least from my perception. This is shot by Lance. This was Subspecies laid the hell out. And this was Thomas Beyer, B-E-Y-E-R, his 91. He was in Loveland, Ohio. Super clean truck. To me, it kind of, at first glance, kind of a Cali vibe to it. Super nice and definitely worthy of a feature. I kind of like there. Looks like it's on a speedway or roadway of some sort. Super clean bed. Tweed for days, clean engine bay, definitely a feature worthy truck. Now, of course, being this is issue 147, we've got just about 120 issues left. Tow on the down low, so they're installing a custom tow hitch. Tech articles, obviously, Lance kind of wrote about, you know, how important that stuff was, including the show coverage. Here's one that I always love getting to, KRZ Customs. If you ever tap on the hashtag or type in KRZ and then Customs with a C, ends with an S, you'll see the few photos over the course of time that I've hashtagged. Here is the cover truck, probably linked up there, and said, hey, we want to shoot it. When can you come to the studio? Let's have Wes do it. But KRZ Customs, they also, to me, help really push the limits forward in the truck scene. They had these, as you can see here, events, a show, if you will, if you went to it or know anybody that did. If you have any photos from these shows, I'd love for you guys, if you could email them or send a link to Google Drive, or any show, rather. You can email us, ourlifestylepodcast@gmail.com, and I could give you tips on how to scan them, or if you wanted to send them to me, I'll scan them and send them back. But I say all that because KRZ Customs, they built one of my favorite S10s, that blue one with the peach frame. And I think I've also hashtagged that one a couple times. Someone chimed in and said, hey, I know the guy that owns it. But anyways, they had a show for a couple of years and always loved some of the stuff they put out. Here's Fade to Black, Manuel, Ramos, and it's a 98 Nissan Frontier King Cab. Super clean. You can see the New Jersey plate dragging by. This is probably a good example of, like, you know, Lance did an awesome shoot on this, but when you look at it and you see how dark these black trucks are, you know, I used to think, like, well, what's the big deal? They won't put black trucks on the cover. And, of course, the little shop S-10 ends up on the cover of Street Trucks, and they did a pretty cool rear 3/4 shot of it. But you can just see it's really tough for black to show up. And, of course, you know, there's been black vehicles on the cover of magazines, but not as much. There's that APC ad. Always loved this ad. I thought it was pretty cool. You can see there the S-10, pretty clean. But then also in that era, you could get those grills, which those things are kind of super hard to come by, it seems like, these days. It seems like for a little bit, there's Devious Customs doing a notch. Seems like some of the companies are kind of coming around a little bit, making some stuff, or people are digging stuff out of their garage. I don't know how they're doing it. Truckin Nationals 03. You can see S-10s for days. This S-10 was pretty cool, although the front air dam, you know, I had one similar in the 90s. Suicide doors, tilt hood, and that rear 3/4 shot looking awesome. Super low. You can see tons of S-10s. You see one here, the Blazer S-10, Nissan. But S-10s really kind of ruled the, you know, I don't want to say 2000s, but they kind of did. I mean, a lot of people had them. Astro, though. If you like what we're doing here, check out OLP via any podcast app. I know some of you guys listen all the time. You probably get sick of me saying that. But if you're new and you tend to find us, a lot of people that email me say, hey, man, you know, I found the podcast. I love it. It's, you know, and I tell people, hey, it's free. Try not to really sell you anything. If you want merchandise, of course, the link in the bio, including these stickers. Now, our sticker does not say the word magazine on it. This was actually one I picked up in the past. We have these, and we have the others without the word magazine. So here is Garage Days. I thought this was just a fantastic layout. You didn't see this a lot for that rear or that main 3/4 shot. You basically have, you know, the truck laid out here. You get to see the grill. These with the stock bumper were always kind of notorious for having that little gap right there. But you know, you get to see the front end, but then also with the extended cab, you know, she's standing back here far enough. You get to see inside the interior, and the beautiful, beautiful Jennifer Scott. This was the Club Sinners, and we can see there her name. But a super cool truck. You know, I'm glad that they featured this thing and put it on the cover. 100% homegrown. So they talk about Richard Galindo Jr. kind of building this thing. The pods in the A-pillar, those were super popular then. You can see some of the billet accents, the overlay on the gauges, the flamed gauges. You know, being that this was an earlier round body S-10, you see kind of the older style dash in it. Super clean stereo. Door panels, custom with paint and a little bit of tweed. Down here, you can see that they did they superimposed Mini Truckin logo over the actual license plate. They would do that from time to time, as I kind of pointed out. These had a couple of different engine options in them. You can see the billet piece there with the graphics on the fuse, the billet over the fuse panel. I learned that it takes a lot of patience to build a custom truck. No doubt. Doesn't happen overnight, that's for sure. Super clean truck. Many of you have also commented like, hey, I got into mini trucking around, you know, this period. And it's always cool to hear that. You know, it kind of reinforces that some of us have been doing it longer than others, but at the same time, we saw the same passion. This was by Lance. Photography was the MT staff. This was the Beyer booth. If I remember, yeah, we can see Beyer there on the logo, but there is the Toyota we recently covered. And we can see here Negative Camber, as we recently announced, they had won Club of the Year. You see Courtney, rest in peace, there in red. Lance next to him. Mike Alexander next to him in the kind of corporate attire there. And then a bunch of members. I think there's another photo that's a little bit more clear. And then you see Courtney there. Rest in peace, Alex, who had him on, of course, and he's no longer with us. But a lot of good memories, man. Even just looking at the magazines. But I do say this, and I meant to mention this. This was the first and only year I had went to SEMA for a long time. I had an opportunity to go and hang out with Kool-Aid from IF Customs. One of my, at the time, I don't think technically he was a club brother, but he and I had sparked up a friendship. And when he'd come to Florida, he'd stay with us, and I hung out with him all week. The severed Washington guys kind of put me up in their spot, and I just had a blast. Got to see this thing, of course, the Ranger, Lenny's truck, and I took photos of this. Now, at the time, if you think about this is 20 years ago, this coming November, and my dad let me use, he had a 1.3 megapixel, whatever it was at the time, digital camera. And that thing had, memory cards back then were like nothing in terms of space. And I remember going there and like taking the 20 photos I took, and I was out of space, Didn't even really think about like, oh, wow, I should have extra memory cards. And that stuff just really wasn't a thing then. This is the truck again that we'll see featured in the next issue. This name always escapes me, and I just looked at the truck and I remembered, I think his name was Forrest from Vegas. He was a super cool dude. And then here is that PMA. That's the Ranger. I think we saw recently one where I kind of mentioned. And then if I remember correctly, this was Courtney's Titan. This was parked outside. I remember taking a few photos of it. Now, I had the digital camera, and I also had film, and I took some cool things. There's Joe Greaves's crazy creation. But I had a lot of good memories, and it was kind of cool because although, we had flip phones, we could text, believe it or not, in that era. But the crazy thing was, we were just living life. We weren't too concerned with, oh my God, I got to film every single thing. I'll release some film. Actually, I think I took my video camera too, and I have some pretty cool footage I've never released. Aaron Kaufman's in some of it because we were hanging out with him. It was awesome. Got to go to a couple SEMA parties. Courtney was there. Got to go to a Toyo party. A lot of cool memories. But again, just living kind of, without our phones. This was Michael, I want to say it right, Seaton, 01 Toyota Tacoma. We can see Subculture there. This thing, of course, has what I call the famous windshield banner, auto art by the kid. Same kind of banner that was on Time Machine. We see Dragon Tacoma. Here they dub it Dragon Inferno. Super clean Texas truck. Subculture Worldwide. We always hashtag that for any Subculture members. And super clean. Love this era. Again, nice bench. Little panel there with some of the switches and whatnot. Super clean engine. BAD on the steering wheel. Shout out to Subculture. A lot of guys chime in, and definitely appreciate you guys. This was obviously a big thing. SEMA Unleashed, 50 new products. And if you've ever been to SEMA or you ever get a chance, you'll know that they do a big thing on the product displays. They want those companies to get the credit and recognition for having some cool products. This was extensive when Bill and team, they were building, they probably still do, those laid out trailers. Of course, now there's other guys, if you will, or companies in the market that do similar stuff, even for vehicles, air the whole trailer out. Definitely a new concept then. When Bill had the H2, there's some photos that float around of it with, that trailer laid out behind it. We got a chance to see the trailer at different shows that Bill would take it to. And it was always cool with the back half S-10 deal that they had set up. Here's Purple Pyro. This was Wade Ridgedon, I believe. Super clean. Love the flames. billet wheels, billet mirrors, super clean. Hopefully, seems like the brightness is going in and out a little bit for some reason, but I'm going to wrap this up here shortly. Definitely appreciate everyone that watches all the way through. I know some of you guys are at work and whatnot, or whatever you're doing. This is the only complaint I have. It was kind of hard to read some of these, especially depending on what the background is. And I looked at this one the other day. This was Brian White. It's a little tough to read, but there's clean shaven. Kind of a cool blazer. You know, old school by even the standards of then, with kind of the body kit on it, but certainly awesome. It's stuff like this, you know, you could bring this out today and still have fun with it. That's the great thing about mini trucking. You can see some of the apparel right here. I'm going to try to knock out a good little number of these. I can't believe we're already at this number. But I'll continue talking about, you know, some of the changes that we'll see as we go on there. I always love that truck. I got a chance to see that orange S-10 at Rezo. Super clean. Was in Severed, I believe, at the time. MT Graffiti. And then there's that other group photo I was talking about. Some of these guys I've got a chance to hang out with and meet. A lot of those faces still around. I could start naming a couple of the guys, but I'd feel like I'd leave some of them out. There's Max. Looks like he makes a Max Fish. Shout out to Max. I got a little thing over here, and always looking at it, the little double convoluted air spring artwork I got from Brian at Grinder one time. This was Dragon. So there you go. There's one of the chassis. I don't remember which one that was. I don't think it was Anthony's Isuzu. But there you go, Mini Truckin Graffiti. And then look at this freaking thing with somebody on a mattress. And there you go, you got Nitto, which we'll see that a good bit. Appreciate all the support. Leave a comment, subscribe, send this to the homies or anybody that you think may appreciate it. Maybe the owner of these vehicles. We don't tag them, of course, on YouTube. But some appreciate it. I had a model reach out to me. She said, hey, I Googled my name. I found your video. I'd love to get an old issue of this old copy of this mag. I didn't have an extra. Got her in contact with Jason Redden, Mini Truckin Mags for Sale. Boom. Cutting deals left and right. Stay on the rise, everyone. Do it for the culture. And as I said recently, what's your thumbprint you're going to leave on the scene? Take care, everyone. Jennifer Scott, though. Peace.